Welcome to Community Talk, a public affairs presentation of the MSA United Way and Super Talk 1270. Now your host, Jenna Gullo.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, are you out there, listeners in Bismarck, Mandan? Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jenna Gullo, the Executive Director of the MSA United Way, and co-hosting with me today and every day when we're at Studio Super Talk 1270, Miss Amber Jensen.
Good morning, everyone.
I was kind of hoping we'd have that music all day. That'd keep me awake, keep me alive.
We could start dancing so we warm up.
Yeah, no kidding. Woo!
'Tis the season.
It's a little chilly out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been watching the forecast. It better be warming up.
I've been watching it on my car when I'm going from business to business begging for dollars for our United Way campaign in our community, and the degrees keep getting colder. They keep going down. But no, I had a really good presentation this morning at Alliance Realty.
Yeah, and you can't say enough about Karen Haskell and all the work that she does to get that group together there, and hopefully we can motivate them to help our community a little bit more this year.
Yeah, and Karen has been doing a great job at promoting the North Dakota tax credit for our United Way Endowment Fund. So if you give to our endowment fund, you could give $5,000. It'll have an out-of-pocket cost of about $1,600 because you get a 40% tax credit. So if anyone's out there thinking, how can they help us get us to our goal and meet community needs and make sure we're all taking care of our community, the North Dakota tax credit is a great way to make your dollar go even farther.
And does the 70.5 tax credit still apply? We should know this. I should know this.
Well, I'll repeat it, and then and then I'll test you in segment 3. I'll test you at 11:45.
There you go.
But no, it does still apply. And so if people who are 70 and a half years of age or older, if they want to take out a distribution from their IRA, if it goes directly to a charity, then it's not taxed. And I think that's really important, especially for people who, you know, would rather their money not necessarily all go to Uncle Sam. They want to make sure something good happens with it. Give it to the United Way. Give it directly to us. In fact, you can take it out now. You can do it through any time in 2016, as long as you pledge before our annual luncheon, which is January 28th. That's when we wrap up our campaign. You can pledge now, and you can make your payment anytime through this calendar year.
And so what are some of those needs that we're still looking in our final couple weeks that we're getting out there and asking donors to help our community? What are some of those needs that we're still looking for?
Well, you know, we talk an awful lot about some of the needs that seem to really resonate with people, like the United Way Backpack Program, because there's not a single person in our community who wants kids to be going hungry, especially when they're not in school, when they're home over the weekend. The last thing they need to be worrying about is where their next meal comes from. So the United Way Backpack Program, we do over 600 bags full of food to elementary age students, and we're adding middle and high school students, which I was really surprised at the numbers down at Wachter.
Yeah, they were, I think, one of the higher ones out of all the middle schools. I know Mandan Middle School had 27, and they probably at Wachter had 20 more than that. I mean, they were close to the 50 mark, which is just really sad to see. And a lot of people don't see it. If you don't have kids that maybe go to that school, or if it's not your neighbor, your eyes might be closed to that. But really, we know that 1 in 10 kids in our community don't have the needs to put food on their table.
Yeah, and it really shouldn't be falling on the shoulders of these young kids. They should be able to just have access to food and be healthy and be able to get to school on Monday morning and learn. So we are looking for more backpack sponsors. It's roughly $2,000 to sponsor a weekend, and we are looking for 4 additional sponsors for United Way's Backpack Program. You can go online right now at saunitedway.org or give us a call at United Way 255-3601. You can have your business actually help us pack the backpacks full of food, which reminds me we're needing some volunteers this Thursday morning.
Yeah, at 8 a.m., we're going to have a pickup or two meeting us over at Langang. We have some food left over from the Fill the Truck that Walmart put on for us right before the holidays. And that food was extra from our Christmas backpacks. And so we are looking for volunteers to help us bring over about 10 totes of food over to Plains Commerce Bank so that they are able to pack and deliver the bags before 11 o'clock. And so if you're available at 8 a.m. on this Thursday, call our office 255-3601.
Yeah, some pickup trucks and some muscles.
And I actually think, Plains Commerce Bank, it only has 7 employees. So this is a really fun activity that they're able to promote the backpack program, help pack and deliver. And so even if you're available at 11 o'clock to help deliver, I'm sure they would also appreciate a few extra hands as well during that time.
Yeah, so we need 4 additional sponsors for United Way's backpack program at $2,000 a pop. Or, if you can just give $5. If you're out there listening, you want to make sure a child doesn't go hungry over the weekend, $5 covers a backpack. We are still looking for $11,250, and that's going to support any person in town, individual or a family, after they have a disaster like a house fire. We need those dollars. It's critical to make sure that, it could happen to any one of us. It really doesn't matter income level either. But if you're here, if you're alone, you don't have support of a family, you're trying to get back up on your feet again, you have a house fire, you can't be out in the cold. So those dollars go directly to help people who are in those crises.
And to help put together just care packages while they're in that situation is too. The first thing that you probably want after you kind of grieve is that toothbrush or, that blanket if you're a kid, or just something to play with just to keep you busy. And those are some of the items that the United Way is able to also provide so that you don't feel so alone.
Yeah, so we were looking for $11,250 to help us meet that need for our community members. Go online to msaunitedway.org. Another need people might not think about, but mentors for kids who don't have those positive adult role models at home. We know the last needs assessment we did, 29% of kids did not feel they had an adult role model. So we're looking for $5,625. You can give today. Go online to msaunitedway.org and be sure to mark off January 28th for our luncheon. We'll be right back.
Right now, 0.
Jim Walsh, live weekdays at 11 a.m. on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back. Bismarck Mandan. A special hello to my mother and father in Western New York. They're going to be visiting me soon. I can't wait. They're going to be here for United Way's annual luncheon. I hope you're there too. January 28th at the Ramkota Hotel. We fill that ballroom. So I really hope you'll join us because it's pretty awesome to see all of the business community and our volunteers and donors be honored, number one, but 2, to see their support to get us where we're at today with our United Way. Co-hosting with me is Amber Jensen. She's the operations manager and marketing manager at our United Way, and truly a big reason of why we're at today, which is, sitting pretty good. So thanks, Amber, for everything, that your commitment to our United Way. We have a very small office staff, and you're a big part of that.
You are very welcome. And I wouldn't maybe go that far, but
I would. I really would. There's only 5 full-time people at our United Way. And so people might not realize that we focus on Bismarck and Mandan, but we cover a 10-county area. We just were able to recruit some donors in Beulah and some donors in Hazen to be able to bring the United Way backpack program to those areas. And then we had a donor step up, and she's going to be having an office in Linton, and she's going to be sponsoring the United Way backpack program for children out there.
Yeah, and so if you're listening right now and you say, oh, I know of some kids in our community that could use that help, or school counselors are recognizing that as a need at your school, give our office a call, 255-3601. All it takes is to find that donor or a couple donors or a business to sponsor it, and we can get it rolling. It's been pretty simple to get it going in Beulah, Hazen, and Linton. As far as once we get it ordered. There you go.
Isn't it always simple if someone else is
That's
doing
right.
it? No, but in all honesty, we are able to mobilize those efforts pretty seamlessly, and we don't take any admin for those programs. We just want to make sure that kids are fed, that they're not going hungry, that their basic needs are being met throughout all of North Dakota. But we also support some preventative programs as well in helping kids to be prepared and ready for school. And the Dolly Parton Imagination Library is something that we've been working on for a number of years. We have over 4,000 boys and girls that are enrolled in our program. Our costs are only $25 for a child for the entire year, and they receive a free book in the mail, mailed to their home until they're age 5.
You know, and you hear so many stories about how kids love getting their own personalized mail. Even though everybody sends things through email, you still appreciate getting things in the mailbox. And so just being able to personalize that to your kid, it's a great baby shower gift. And so if you have any baby showers or birthday parties coming up and they're under the age of 5, why not give them a book that will last them until they're 5 and get that free book sent to them every day? Or every month.
Or if you live in a community and you're listening to us out there, like, for example, New Salem, we're not able to offer the program to children in New Salem because we don't have a sponsor yet. So it's only $25 per child for the entire year. And we have 86% of our state covered. So help us get that last 14% covered so all kids can be enrolled in this valuable program.
Yeah, and we just know the importance of reading and how much of an effect, if they're not reading by the 4th grade, we know they're 4 times more likely to drop out of school. And then that ends up costing people in our community about $260,000, whether that's through pregnancy, jail time. And so that importance of getting people reading by the time they meet 4th grade is just really important. And we know that if we can start early and get them reading and getting mentors and tutors in with those kids that might not be reading at proficiency, how beneficial it is in the future.
So we have not yet reached our community goal, which means we have not yet raised the dollars needed to meet all of the needs in our community for the people that we serve. So a lot of times people don't know what all of those needs are. And just because they might not be as well known doesn't mean that they're any less important. And so we are helping people with disabilities. We are helping with transportation in our community. We are helping victims of domestic violence. One area that we help a lot in is mental health. And that's a huge need in Bismarck-Mandan. And so we have Anna Thompson here from one of our United Way programs, Village Family Services. Thanks so much, Anna, for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Anna, talk to our listeners. Give us a brief overview. What is the Village?
The Village is a nonprofit organization that serves multiple communities, both in North Dakota and Minnesota. Our main office is in the Fargo, in Fargo, but we have multiple offices throughout North Dakota in Minot, Williston, Bismarck, and then we are also serving Moorhead, Minnesota and St. Cloud, Minnesota as well.
And so what's your role at the Village?
I am a mental health counselor and registered play therapist. So I see kids age 4 through 11 or 12, depending on maturity level, to do play therapy. And then I also see adolescents and adults as well.
And so play therapy, talk to our listeners. Why is that important, especially with the group that you're working with?
Well, just as adolescents and adults process through difficult life situations and emotions through talking, kids process through play. And so through the process of play, they will be able to communicate how they're feeling. They'll be able to work through trauma and difficult things that are going on in their lives.
And so what's the average length of time that you see, a child, whether it's through play therapy or one of your other methods?
I would say generally 4 to 16 sessions is the average. It really depends on the extent to how, whatever it is that's affecting them, how much it's affecting them, that kind of thing. So, for example, if a child is struggling with anxiety, if it is fairly easy to resolve that, it might be around 4 sessions. Now, if you have a child that's dealing with some type of complex trauma, of course, it's going to take more sessions.
And so is it free to the parents or the child that's seeing you through play therapy?
Well, it depends. We have multiple funding sources. Of course, we have our wonderful collaborative through the United Way with Neighbors Network. So Neighbors Network is able to provide case management to families in various schools throughout our community that can't afford multiple services, including mental health. And Neighbors Network will refer families for mental health services, and those services are covered through the United Way funding. So those are free to the families. The village itself also accepts clients through insurance and self-pay as well as EAP providers.
So the United Way Education Initiative, part of it is that case management and, of course, the support while they're in school. But teachers and case managers can only help so far. So talk to us about what are some of the situations that you're seeing in dealing with some of these families.
Unfortunately, I see a lot of anxiety in children, and that's for multiple reasons. It can be for something as simple as a kid who got the stomach flu, and it was so traumatic for them that now they're afraid every time somebody coughs around them that they are going to get sick, and they just have a hard time even processing through it.
And can I schedule an appointment?
Yeah, exactly.
I need to get in and see you.
Exactly. So it can be for something as simple as that.
Really?
And, there's also a lot of family situations. So parents who are in and out of the picture, blended family issues, divorce, as well as, unfortunately, parents who have illnesses. So there may be a parent in the family with a terminal illness, cancer, and a child doesn't really understand what that means, or also doesn't know what the end result could be, just like an adult doesn't understand quite what the end result might be. So we're seeing all kinds of reasons for kids coming in.
And I mean, that's one of the most heartbreaking reasons, of course, is when you're losing someone that you love. And like you said, at any age, needing that extra support. And we actually just had a United Way volunteer, a young couple, sponsor a family who was losing their mother. And so there's so many different ways that people can come together and support local families going through these traumatic experiences. And they're oftentimes unexpected.
That's right. And I think one of the lovely things about the education initiative, the collaboration that we're able to provide with Neighbors Network is that I think people so often imagine that low-income families are banging down our doors to come in and get our services. And the reality is that there are so many barriers that prevent them from coming through our doors. And so through this collaborative, we're able to break down some of those barriers. We're able to provide them more supportive services. If a parent doesn't have a car, the transportation can be provided to them. If they work and can't get time off to bring their child for counseling services, they have a case manager that can bring them. And so I think that is, besides, of course, the funding that comes with it, it's the barriers that can get broken down.
You are listening to the power of United Way, agencies coming together. We do need your help. Log on right now, msaunitedway.org. Help us to reach our goal and fund these valuable programs. We'll be back in just a couple more minutes to talk more with Anna Thompson from Village Family Services.
Right now, 0.
Live news headlines and weather together. Weekdays on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back to United Way's Community Talk. I am Jenna Gullo, the Executive Director of the Missouri Slope Area-Wide United Way. If you have not yet gotten involved in our United Way, you are really missing out because we are just fun. And we mean business. No, and I'm completely serious. We get a lot done because of the great support in our community, and we really target the root causes of issues, and we do everything we can to break that cycle of poverty. There's only so many handouts a person can give before you start to say, well, let's just start changing their situation. Let's make sure these kids are getting to school. Let's make sure the parents are getting the skills that they need. And I was talking with Al Klein, a trustee member of United Way, a past campaign chair, talking about how can we change that next generation who will become the leaders of our community. We know that we have 1 in 10 kids who are dealing with hunger issues. Our new assessment just came out where we have 1 in 4 young kids living in poverty in our area. That's ridiculous. We really have to get in front of these issues. And at United Way, we're talking about preventing them, removing those barriers, and really solving problems. We are talking with Anna Thompson from the Village Family Services, who's working on just that. And in studio joining us right now is Mr. Chris Block, the Community Impact Coordinator at United Way.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here.
Yeah, Chris, thank you so much for your work you're doing with the Community Impact volunteers. And it's really interesting to see how the volunteers have really evolved over the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, yesterday I just counted it up, and this summer our Community Impact volunteers put in almost 500 hours into making sure that United Way dollars were spent effectively and efficiently in our community.
I think that is just awesome. So you as a donor out there can actually be the one and should be the one deciding how your dollars are used. We'll train you in, and then you're on your own for making some really, really tough decisions on where those priorities for our community need to be. So you can sign up. You can be a Community Impact volunteer. Call our office or log in online to volunteerbizman.com, or give us a call. Go online to msaunitedway.com .org. Call us at 255-3601. Just get involved. Raise your hand. We'll train you in. It's so important. And, Chris, what makes me proud is to see how a lot of the tough decisions they're making, they're multiple reviewers, they're board members, they're women's leadership circle members, they're, experts in the area, and they're all developing the same similar suggestions, concerns, things that they're really happy about with different programs and agencies, different support, but they're very aligned in what they're coming up with.
Yeah, we've got a lot of smart people making good decisions, and we try to provide them with as much information as we can, both on the situation in our community and what the needs are, as well as the programs and the progress that they're making as well. So a lot of smart people making a lot of good decisions.
Yeah, so get involved today. Call us or go online to msaunitedway.org. In studio with us is Anna Thompson. Anna is with the Village Family Services. Anna, talk to us briefly about what the United Way Education Initiative is all about.
The Education Initiative provides funding to the village specifically in order to provide mental health services to children and their families that are in need. We get referrals from Neighbors Network, which is an agency that works with kids in the schools that need mental health help or educational help or medical help. They provide case management to make sure that they're getting the services that they need. So we get referrals from Neighbors Network to work with those families, and then our services are free to those families.
Yeah, and having gotten a chance to work with you and with the other agencies that are partnering here, it's really great to see how the families that come in, they have just such a wide range of barriers that they're facing, whether it's, like you mentioned, mental health or parents' employment, or maybe they are homeless and a kid's trying to do his homework in the back of a car in the evening or something like that. How this group of agencies and people are coming together to try to break down these barriers so that A, the family is more stable, but B, the kids can also be successful in school so that their families someday can have a better chance at.
One of the things that I really like about the Education Initiative is that I think it's important that people look at some of these issues from a family systems standpoint. And so we are able to not only do counseling with the children, but the parents as well. We have an educational group called Love and Logic Parenting Group that we provide various parenting tips, and it's a nice supportive environment for parents to talk to each other about how to do discipline and nurture their children at the same time, which, as any parent knows, is a really difficult balance to try and figure out. So we're able to provide those classes as well as individual counseling for parents, children, family counseling if needed, couples counseling if needed, you name it. We're able to provide it through the Education Initiative collaboration.
What are some stories that you can share without, naming names, but some success that you've seen through this collaborative through United Way?
I would say that one of the really helpful things as a counselor is being able to collaborate with other service providers that are working with the family. And so when a family is referred from Neighbors Network, we're able to talk about what other services does a child need. Are they needing to see a psychiatrist? Are they needing to have a psychological evaluation done to make sure that there isn't something that we're missing? Do they need speech therapy? Do they need occupational therapy? And to work with the case manager on that. So a recent case that I had was exactly that, is the school is talking about behavioral issues that is going on with this child, but they aren't able to kind of pin down what's going on. So being able to work with the parent on, okay, so who do we all need to gather around this child to figure out how we best can support them? And I think for any parent, it can be very overwhelming when they don't know what's going on with their child. What's wrong? What do I do? And what services are out there? And so it's nice to be able to sit down with a parent and kind of help them muddle through that process, because it's a difficult one, while supporting the child at the same time.
Have you seen a lot of kids that have housing that isn't very stable or that are moving, very transient? Because I know the program that we support with the case management knows that these kids are moving from Bismarck to Mandan or living with other family members. And oftentimes they could even be living, sleeping on mattresses on the floor. I mean, are you able to dig that deep or to be able to really get at some of those issues?
Yes, it's interesting because we can have a 5-year-old that we see. Oftentimes we see siblings. So let's say in one family we see a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. It's always so interesting to see the different perspectives at the different developmental ages, because a 5-year-old who is only known living with other relatives or moving from house to house, sometimes they don't even talk about that or process through that in play because that is the norm for them. They don't know any other way. And then when they get to be 8 or 9, they start to kind of realize through friendships with other kids that maybe this isn't normal. I'm really kind of sick of living like this. And they have different perspectives on that. And just working differently within the same family, working differently with different siblings at different ages can always be an interesting thing.
Now, Anna, I'm not a mental health professional, but when you're addressing these issues early on in these kids' lives, I mean, are these things that, if not addressed, are just going to continue to get worse and worse and worse?
Yeah, unfortunately, we see something called generational trauma that can often happen. So many times when we are working with kids that are going from home to home, living with relatives, it's often the same environment that their parent was raised in. And so it's part of it is trying to work to break that cycle, and helping to empower the parents. I heard an interesting thing one time from a parent that was able to get a job, become successful. The rest of their family, the extended family, shamed them because they felt like they would say things like, "Oh, now you're better than we are. You think you're better than us." And it really took me back because I am so used to, in my family, you support people's successes. And I was just kind of shocked by that. And so stepping back and really looking at how family systems perpetuate generational trauma and helping to try and break that cycle in some way is a real challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are so grateful that you're a part of our education collaborative, that you're trying to break that cycle, and that you're working towards really getting at those root causes, because it affects so many other issues in our kids' lives and in families' lives. Thank you to Anna Thompson from the Village Family Services. We're going to take a quick break and then join us in just a couple minutes.
Right now, 5 above.
News headlines and weather together. Live on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back. You are listening to United Way's Community Talk. A special thank you to Super Talk 1270 Town Square Media for donating this airtime. We are on here live every other Tuesday from 11 to noon. Co-hosting with me today is Mr. Chris Block, the Community Impact Coordinator at United Way.
Hello again, everybody. Happy to be here and happy to talk about what Your Dollars at United Way do, what our organization does, and just explain a little more about what happens with your support.
We have not reached goal yet. We have until January 28th. And so we are just knocking on doors, placing a lot of calls, and we need everyone's support. So if you're out there listening, you have $1, $10, $100, $1,000, whatever you can support, we can assure you that it's going to the most important needs in our community, many of them which you may have never heard of. Chris, explain a need that some people might not even think about as a need in our local community, but yet United Way steps up and makes sure that that service is there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you think about, we've been talking about children and families and the struggles that they face. Well, one of the programs that we support in our health initiative really, we've talked about getting to the root of problems, really looks at families as their very beginning, like as their children are just coming home from the hospital, and works to identify families that really have red flags that maybe later on are going to potentially struggle with abuse or neglect or a whole gamut of issues, and really tries to then work with those families, if they're interested, to help them kind of nip those problems in the bud before they become something that could be much bigger and much more traumatic later on.
Well, and that's where a lot of United Way funds go, is preventing issues before they even begin. And we know that those early years are the most important formative years for all of us. We also know that if kids aren't reading proficiently by grade 4, they're 4 times more likely to drop out of school. We know that 40% of kids in Bismarck and Mandan are not reading proficiently by grade 4. So how can we better get these kids prepared and ready to learn by the time they even get to school? That's part of what we're working on at our United Way. You know, Chris, we were at Saxville Elementary a couple weeks ago, and our women's leadership group, which if anyone out there is listening, you really need to become more involved in. They helped us to start the backpack program. They have started Adopt a Classroom through United Way at Saxville Elementary. They go into the classroom every other week and spend a couple hours with these kids and take turns mentoring, tutoring, reading to these kids, and just helping the teacher. We had a volunteer in there who, a child 5 years old in kindergarten, was holding his pencil in his right hand, then moving it to his left and back to his right. And the volunteer said, well, gosh, is he right-handed or left-handed? She asked the teacher. And the teacher said, well, chances are he's never held a pencil before in his life. 5 years old, in kindergarten. And so many of these kids are already so far behind. And so the Healthy Families program is just one area where we're trying to get kids prepared and reading on time. The Dolly Parton Imagination Library program, that's another area that we focus on for kids age 0 to 5.
Yeah, and you mentioned getting kids ready for school. I mean, we also know that if a kid comes to school and he's maybe a year or two behind in development, chances are he's not going to catch up. It's just the way things are. If kids get to school and something isn't done about it, chances are that the majority of the time they're going to stay behind. And so with some of our services, like the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, we're really focused on trying to make sure kids are ready for school so that problems don't keep compounding once they get there and turn into a really big issue later on.
If you have a child or a grandchild enrolled in United Way's Dolly Parton Imagination Library, go online right now and please consider making a donation to sponsor your child or grandchild. It's only $25. That pays for the shipping and handling for the books once a month for an entire year. You can go online right now at msaunitedway.org. You know, Chris, we're not yet at goal. And so people need to realize, too, that these programs that United Way provide, they're not just for low-income individuals. North Dakota Reading Corps is an excellent example.
Yeah, we have North Dakota Reading Corps that we've been working with for the last year or so. And this is a program that really leverages the power of volunteers. They have AmeriCorps volunteers that they train and then send into area schools to do intensive research-based tutoring with kids to help them catch up reading early on. These are K through third graders, helping them get to grade level so that they can increase their likelihood of being successful. I mean, we know the old adage is up until third grade, you're learning to read, and then after third grade, you're reading to learn. You can't really learn the complex issues later on if you don't know how to read the textbook. So North Dakota Reading Corps is really all about getting kids caught up there before that third grade level so that they can they read to learn later on.
Well, and they read with these children every single day. Despite their income level, if they're not reading at proficiency level, those are the kids that are targeted. And we know that they are delivering results. 75% of struggling readers helped by these trained tutors at 6 Mandan elementary schools, they read at grade level by the end of the school year. So if you want to give to the United Way campaign, make sure important programs like North Dakota Reading Corps have their funding for this year. Give now. It's msaunitedway.org. And absolutely every dollar counts. We're still short of goal, and so we need your help. We have a lot of people who've been giving to our endowment fund, which has just been an incredible opportunity for our donors to make an even bigger impact with their donation. So a gift of $5,000 to the MSA United Way Endowment Fund qualifies for the 40% North Dakota state tax credit. So $5,000 ends up costing you $1,600. $1,600, and you know those dollars are there, and that principal stays in our community for us to be able to generate that interest year after year so that hopefully one day all of our campaign dollars can go directly back into the community. And that reminds me, people might not realize how United Way dollars are put to use, but all the decisions are made locally. Only 3% of our entire revenue was even used towards admin, and there's a big misperception out there. People have also heard that we support Planned Parenthood. There is no Planned Parenthood for us to support. Not that we would if we could. We have donors on both sides of that issue. So I think it's really important that donors make an informed decision when they're giving. And quite frankly, if you're giving direct to an agency, God bless you, as long as you're being involved in the change, we're able to multiply your dollars so much more when you give through United Way. We have a lot of agencies that are able to use the United Way dollars as their federal match.
Yeah, I was just looking at a couple of those situations here in the last couple of days, and if you can believe it, agencies are able to take one United Way dollar and turn it into $7 in some instances because they use that as the community match. For some larger grants, agencies have to demonstrate that they have local support, and a lot of them use United Way dollars for that and just really multiply the impact of your gift to United Way.
If we do not raise another $4,000, if there's anyone out there who can sponsor $4,000, go to msaunitedway.org. If we don't raise that $4,000, there are going to be fewer middle school students who will receive scholarships. These middle school students are from low-income families, and they participate in an after-school tutoring and mentoring program. It gives them a safe place to be after school. It keeps them out of trouble. They have certified teachers and a social worker right there in the classroom helping these kids until it's dinner time. $4,000 to help these low-income kids get into this tutoring program. It's not just kids that we're helping either.
Yeah, if you think about seniors, some of you may in fact be seniors and know firsthand what we're talking about, but seniors, by the time they get towards the end of their life, they have different legal issues or topics that may be of interest to them, such as what's going to happen with their will or end-of-life decisions, things like that. And not all seniors have access to the kind of professional assistance that they may need to get these issues worked out. And so one of the programs that we support provides that assistance to low-income seniors.
And so we're looking for $3,000 to support the needs of seniors in our community. It's $3,000. I think we can pull together and do it. Go online right now to msaunitedway.org. And it's not just the well-known services and populations. There's a lot of other services and populations that you might not have heard about. Guardian and protective services. We're looking for $10,000 to be able to provide services for vulnerable adults in our community. There are so many needs. We need you to step up and help us to meet them. We appreciate everything you're doing. You join us on January 28th for our United Way annual luncheon. We'll announce our campaign results. And if you can get your pledge in before then, you have through all of December to pay on that pledge. So thank you from United Way. If you have any questions, you call us 255-3601 or go online to msaunitedway.org. We're going to make this happen.